Over the next 3 days, we are taking a look at alpha-gal syndrome, what it is, how it affects people, and what is being done to raise awareness. Our Megan Marshall talked with healthcare professionals to learn more about what this allergy is. She joins us now in the studio. Megan.
It's estimated that as many as 450,000 people from 2010 to 2022 were affected by alpha-gal syndrome. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, AGS is an allergic condition that can be life-threatening. Studies show the number of cases are increasing, but the knowledge about this allergy continues to remain limited. I spoke with an epidemiologist and alpha-gal specialist to learn more about this emerging health challenge.
Alpha-gal syndrome is an allergic condition estimated to affect nearly 500,000 people, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Epidemiologist Joanna Salzer with the CDC says it has been nicknamed the red meat allergy.
So it is an allergy to alpha-gal, which is a carbohydrate that is found in nearly all mammalian tissues. So that includes beef, pork, venison, and then also products that are made by mammals. So gelatin, and then there can be trace amounts in other pharmaceutical products.
Alpha-gal syndrome is not your typical food allergy, though, and for several reasons. Tick bites are the cause of AGS. Several ticks around the world transfer AGS, according to allergist and alpha-gal specialist Dr. Scott Commons.
Outside of the U.S., AGS is a global phenomenon, if you will. All of these places have AGS. It's just different ticks.
But here in the United States, it's the Lone Star tick.
It's primarily associated with the Lone Star tick, which does exist in West Virginia and throughout most of the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic region. Some people, a couple weeks to a month later, will start to develop this allergy.
Doctors say how people react to the condition and what people react to also set AGS apart from other allergies.
There are nuances to it. It's a delayed reaction, so
after someone ingests alpha-gal, so maybe has a steak dinner, 2 to 8 hours after they eat a meal with alpha-gal in it, they will have an allergic reaction. So some people may only experience gastrointestinal symptoms, so like nausea and diarrhea, while other people may experience hives and even anaphylactic reaction.
Dr. Commons says people with AGS can have reactions to more than just mammal meat.
We use mammal-derived products in our medications, in some vaccines, in tissue grafts, in heart valves. So it's way more than just a food allergy.
People with AGS can also have reactions to an additive used in food and pharmaceutical products called carrageenan.
That is used in various, as an emulsifier. So you'll even have an almond milk that may have carrageenan, and you think oh, this is safe because it's from almond.
Carrageenans are extracts from red seaweed that also carry the alpha-gal sugar.
Let's break it down. Alpha-gal syndrome is an allergy that causes people to react to a sugar molecule called alpha-gal that's found in mammals and also carrageenan. This means if you get alpha-gal, you will most likely not be able to eat mammal meat. Cows, pork, deer, lamb is all off the table because they have the AGS sugar molecule. But you could also react to other foods or products if they contain mammal ingredients or carrageenans.
If you get bit by a tick, one way to confirm you have AGS is through a blood test. Dr. Commons warns people, though, from immediately seeking to get a blood test. He says it takes around 4 to 6 weeks after the offending tick bite to get a true result.
From the allergy side, not the infection side, but from an allergy side, there's no reason to have a tick bite and then get a blood test for alpha-gal. Probably not the best idea because you may end up in a meat-free, red meat-free diet, but yet you may not necessarily have developed the allergy.
He recommends people should let their symptoms guide whether or not to get a blood test for AGS.
Doctors say that people with AGS could eventually recover from the condition, but more studies need to be done. We'll hear from more people living with AGS tomorrow. Back to you.
Again, Marshall reporting in the studio. Megan, thank you. And you can read more about AGS online by going to WTAP.com.